The Lotus Sutra, Chapter 8, The 500 Disciples Receive Their Predictions. At that time, Purna, the son of Maitrayani, after hearing the Buddha teach the Dharma according to what is appropriate to sentient beings through the wisdom of skillful means, and bestow the prediction of highest complete enlightenment on all the great disciples, and then hearing stories about past causes and conditions, and that all the Buddhas have obtained perfect mastery of transcendent powers, obtained an unprecedented experience, and became pure in mind and joyful. He immediately rose from his seat, went into the presence of the Buddha, bowed until his forehead touched the Buddha's feet, and then stood to one side, gazing unwaveringly at the Buddha, and thought this, quote, "The Bhagavat is truly marvelous. His actions are rare. He teaches the Dharma according to the natural capacities of the beings in the world through skillful means, wisdom, and insight. He leads sentient beings away from their various attachments. We have no words to describe the Buddha's qualities. Only the Buddha, the Bhagavat, is able to know our deep intentions and original vow." Then the Buddha addressed the monks, saying, quote, "Do you see Purna, the son of Maitrayani? I always praise him as the foremost among the teachers of the Dharma. I also always praise his various qualities. He diligently maintains and propagates my teachings and is able to gladden and benefit the fourfold assembly. He interprets the true Dharma of the Buddhas perfectly and greatly benefits those who practice the pure path of discipline and integrity together with him. With the exception of the Tathagata, no one else explains the doctrine more eloquently. You must not think that Purna is only now able to protect and propagate my teaching. He also protected and propagated the true Dharma of the Buddhas in the presence of 90 kotis of Buddhas in the past, when he was always the foremost among the teachers of the Dharma. Moreover, he was completely versed in the teaching of emptiness that the Buddhas taught, and attained the fourfold unobstructed wisdom. He has always been able to teach the Dharma clearly and purely. He never had any doubts, and was endowed with the transcendent powers of the Bodhisattvas. Throughout each life, he always practiced the pure path of discipline and integrity. The people who lived in the same Buddha world all thought he really was a Sravaka, yet Purna benefited immeasurable hundreds of thousands of sentient beings through this skillful means, and also led and inspired immeasurable, incalculable numbers of beings and caused them to attain highest complete enlightenment. In order to purify the Buddha land, he always did what the Buddhas have done, and led and inspired sentient beings. O monks, Purna also was able to become the foremost among the teachers of the Dharma under the past 7 Buddhas, and he is also the foremost of those who preach the Dharma under me. He will also be the foremost among the teachers of the Dharma under the future Buddhas in this auspicious Kalpa. He will protect and propagate the Buddha Dharma, and also in the future he will protect and propagate the Dharma of incalculable limitless Buddhas. He will lead, inspire, and benefit incalculable sentient beings, and cause them to attain highest, complete enlightenment. In order to purify the Buddha lands, he will always be diligent and persevering, leading and inspiring sentient beings. He will gradually perfect the Bodhisattva path, and, after immeasurable, incalculable kalpas, he will attain highest complete enlightenment in this land. He will be called Dharmaprabhasa, a Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha, Bhagavat. That Buddha's land will consist of all the worlds in the great manifold cosmos, equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River. The earth will be made of the 7 treasures, and it will be level, just like the palm of one's hand. There will be no mountains, valleys, or hollow places. This land will be filled with towers of the 7 treasures. The heavenly palaces will be in the sky, close at hand, and the humans and devas will come and go between them, so that they will be able to see each other. There will be no troubled states of being, nor any women. All the sentient beings will be born there spontaneously, without any sexual desires. They will attain great transcendent powers, emit rays of light from their bodies, and fly freely through the air. These beings will be firm in recollection, persevering, and wise. They will all be of golden hue, and adorned with the 32 marks. The sentient beings in that land will always eat 2 meals, one being the meal of delight in the Dharma, and the other the meal of pleasure in meditation. There will be immeasurable, incalculable thousands of myriads of kotis of nayutas of bodhisattvas who have attained great transcendent powers and the 4-fold unobstructed wisdom. They will be able skillfully to lead and inspire sentient beings. The number of Shravakas there will be impossible to calculate. They will all perfect the 6 transcendent powers, the 3 sciences, and the 8 liberations. Such will be the immeasurable merits of this Buddha's land, being perfect in adornment. The Kalpa will be called Ratnavabhasa, and his land will be called Suvisuddha. This Buddha's lifespan will last for immeasurable, incalculable kalpas, and the Dharma will abide for a very long time. After the parinirvana of that Buddha, stupas of the 7 treasures will be erected everywhere throughout the land. Then the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. O monks, listen carefully. The path that the heir of the Buddhas has practiced by learning skillful means cannot be conceived. Because the bodhisattvas know that sentient beings long for inferior teachings and are afraid of great knowledge, they make themselves either Shravakas or Pratyeka Buddhas. They inspire those sentient beings using innumerable skillful means, saying, quote, "We are Shravakas and still very far away from attaining the Buddha path." They save immeasurable sentient beings, all of whom they cause to attain perfection, and they even cause those who are lazy or who have lowly intentions gradually to become Buddhas. These beings secretly carry out the bodhisattva practice while outwardly calling themselves Shravakas. Having little desire, their thoughts fixed on birth and death, they in fact purify the Buddha lands. These bodhisattvas show sentient beings that they have the 3 poisons, and further, they reveal the mark of false views. In this way, my disciples save sentient beings through skillful means. If I fully disclosed that they had taken on various forms, the sentient beings hearing this would immediately become doubtful. This Purna has now practiced the path under thousands of kotis of Buddhas in the past, and he has propagated and protected the teaching of these Buddhas. Seeking the highest wisdom under all these Buddhas, he showed that he was the foremost among the disciples, and that he was knowledgeable and wise. Fearless in his teaching, he was able to gladden the people. He never tired in performing the actions of a Buddha. He has already attained the great transcendent powers and is endowed with the 4-fold unobstructed wisdom. Knowing whether the faculties of sentient beings are sharp or dull, he always teaches the pure Dharma. Expounding such doctrines as these, he has taught thousands of kotis of beings, and, by making them abide in the Mahayana teaching, he himself has purified his Buddha land. In the future, he will also pay homage to incalculable innumerable Buddhas, protect and propagate the true Dharma, and also purify his Buddha land. He will always fearlessly teach the Dharma, using his skillful means, save incalculable sentient beings, and enable them to achieve omniscience. Paying homage to all the Tathagatas and preserving the treasure house of the Dharma, he will eventually become the Buddha called Dharma Prabhasa. His land will be called Suvisuddha, which will consist of the 7 treasures. His kalpa will be called Ratnavabhasa. There will be a large number of bodhisattvas there, numbering immeasurable kotis. His Buddha land will be filled with bodhisattvas who have attained great transcendent powers and are endowed with dignity. There will also be innumerable Shravakas who have perfected the 3 sciences, the 8 liberations, and the 4-fold unobstructed wisdom. Such beings as these will form the Sangha. The sentient beings in his land will have already cut themselves off from sexual desires. Everyone there will thus be pure and born spontaneously, with bodies adorned with the 32 marks. They will feast on delight in the Dharma and pleasure in meditation, never thinking of eating anything else. There will neither be women nor troubled states of existence. The qualities of the monk Purna will be completely perfected, and there will be many wise people in this pure land. I am now only briefly explaining these immeasurable things. Thereupon, there were 1,200 arhats who had attained complete mental discipline, who thought this, quote, "We have joyfully attained an unprecedented experience. If the Bhagavat would give each of us a prediction like those he has given the other great disciples, we would be overjoyed." The Buddha, knowing their minds, addressed Mahakasyapa, saying, quote, "I shall now bestow the prediction of highest complete enlightenment one by one on these 1,200 arhats who are in my presence. My great disciple, the monk Ajnatakaudinya, who is in this assembly, will pay homage to 62,000 of kotis of Buddhas. He will thereafter become the Buddha called Samantaprabha, a Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha, Bhagavat. The 500 arhats, beginning with Uruvillva Kasyapa, Gaya Kasyapa, Nadi Kasyapa, Kalodayan, Udayan, Aniruddha, Revata, Kaphina, Bakula, Chunda, Savagata, and the others will all attain highest complete enlightenment. They will all have the same name, that of Samantaprabha. Then the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate the meaning of this further, spoke these verses. The monk Kaudinya will meet immeasurable Buddhas, and after incalculable kalpas have passed, he will attain perfect enlightenment. He will always emit a great ray of light and will be endowed with transcendent powers. His fame will spread universally throughout the 10 directions. He will be honored by all beings and will always teach the highest path. He will therefore be called Samantaprabha. His land will be pure, and the bodhisattvas there will all be of great vigor. They will all ascend marvelous towers and roam in the lands of the 10 directions. They will present the most excellent offerings to all of the Buddhas. After having shown their reverence in this way, they will be full of great joy and immediately return to their own lands. Such will be their transcendent powers. The lifespan of this Buddha will be 60,000 kalpas, and the true Dharma will last twice as long as his lifespan. The semblance Dharma will last twice as long as this. When the Dharma disappears, the devas and humans will grieve. Those 500 monks will become Buddhas, each in their turn, all having the same name, Samantaprabha. They will give predictions, one after the other, saying, quote, "After my parinirvana, so-and-so will become a Buddha. The world he inspires will be exactly like mine today. The embellishments of their lands, all the transcendent powers, the assembly of bodhisattvas and shravakas, the true and semblance dharma, the lifespan and duration of the kalpa will be just as I explained before." O Kasyapa, you now know that the 500 arhats whose minds are free, and the remaining shravakas will also be exactly like this. You should teach those who are not in this assembly. Thereupon, the 500 arhats, having obtained their predictions from the Buddha, were joyful and ecstatic. They rose from their seats, approached the Buddha, bowed until their foreheads touched his feet, repented of their faults, and reproached themselves, saying, quote, "O Bhagavat, we have always thought we had attained complete nirvana. We now realize that we were ignorant. Why is this? We should have attained the wisdom of the Tathagatas, yet we were satisfied with little wisdom. O Bhagavat, suppose there were a man who came to the house of a close friend and went to sleep after becoming intoxicated with wine. The intimate friend, having to go out on official business, sews a priceless jewel into the inside of his friend's garment and, giving it to him, leaves. But the man, who was drunk and asleep, is totally unaware of this. After getting up, he leaves and roams around until he arrives in another country. Although he diligently seeks for food and clothing, they are very difficult to obtain. He is satisfied if he just obtains a very meager amount. Later on, the intimate friend happens to meet this man. Seeing him, he says, quote, "O poor fellow, how have you come to this state through lack of food and clothing? Once, on such and such a day, in such and such a month and year, I sewed a priceless jewel into the inside of your garment, wanting to make things easier for you and to let you enjoy the desires of the 5 senses as much as you wished. It is still there, although you aren't aware of it, and you seek your livelihood with great effort and hardship. You have been very foolish. Sell this jewel and use it to buy what you need. From now on, you will know neither poverty nor want, and can live as you wish." The Buddha is exactly like this. When he was a bodhisattva, he aroused in us the aspiration for omniscience. Nevertheless, we forgot. We did not know or understand. We attained the path of the arhats and considered that we had attained nirvana. It was very hard for us to support ourselves, and we were satisfied with little. But we never fully lost our wish for all knowledge. Now, the Bhagavat, perceiving our minds, has said this, quote, "O monks, what you have attained is not the complete nirvana. For a long time, I have made you plant the various roots of good merit of a Buddha, and shown you the marks of nirvana through skillful means. That is why you consider yourselves to have actually attained nirvana. O Bhagavat, we now know that we are actually bodhisattvas and will obtain a prediction of highest, complete enlightenment. For this reason, we are extremely happy at having obtained such an unprecedented experience." At that time, Ajnatakaudinya and the others wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses, quote, "We have heard his voice, giving the prediction of utmost ease. Rejoicing in this unprecedented experience, we bow to the Buddha, whose wisdom is immeasurable. We now repent of our faults in the presence of the Bhagavat. Although we had attained only a small measure of nirvana out of the immeasurable treasures of the Buddha, we were self-satisfied, just like ignorant fools. Suppose there were a man who went to the house of a close friend whose family was very wealthy. He was entertained with a feast and had a priceless jewel sewn to the inside of his garment. The wealthy friend made him this gift without saying anything and went away. The poor man had fallen asleep and did not know of this. Shortly afterward, this man gets up, and after wandering around, arrives in another country. He manages to seek out enough food and clothing to live, but has great difficulty in supporting himself. Yet he is satisfied to obtain a little and does not desire any better. He is still unaware of the priceless jewel sewn inside his garment. The intimate friend who gave him the jewel meets this poor man later and bitterly reproaches him, showing him the jewel that had been sewn into his garment. The poor man, seeing this jewel, rejoices greatly, and with this rich treasure he enjoys to his satisfaction the desires of the five senses. We are exactly like this. For a long time the Bhagavat has led and inspired us through his compassion, and planted in us the highest aspiration. But we were ignorant. We neither noticed nor knew. We were satisfied with attaining only a small measure of nirvana and did not seek for the rest. Now the Buddha has enlightened us, saying, quote, "This is not the real nirvana. Attaining the highest wisdom of the Buddhas is indeed the only real nirvana." Now, having heard the predictions from the Buddha, and of the adorned lands, and the subsequent predictions, we universally rejoice in body and mind.